Hi guys, welcome back to Contest Prep University. I'm Joe Klemczewski with Adam Atkinson. We are on episode 2 of Contest Diet Methodology. And in the first episode, we talked about flexible dieting and what that is and why it can be useful. So let's talk about the antithesis of that, which is having a structured meal plan. And some people would call it rigid dieting. Some people would just say, hey, do you do meal plans? And to this, Adam, of course, it's just simply having a routine. And it could be very rigid. If somebody said, here's what I want you to have for meal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is it, don't deviate, that would be pretty rigid. I like some form of meal planning. I have not competed in 13 or 14 years, and yet I can tell you, I eat the same breakfast every day, I eat the same lunch every day, I have the same 1 or 2 snacks a day. And why do I do that? Because my goals are to be healthy, to maintain a certain weight, performance. I'm always still working on something in the gym. And so, there is some value to having structure. I can be flexible, as we talked about in the first episode. I travel a lot, and so that is a necessity. But, I think there is a lot of value to both, and I think it's how you merge them together. So how would you describe that, Adam?
Yeah, I think you did a great job with that. And then, the idea of, I think, meal plan, people nowadays associate if you give a client a meal plan, that's a horrible thing and you're like a bad coach.
It's cookie cutter. That's a cookie cutter coach.
Right. And I think meal planning needs to be the basis before anyone moves to flexible dieting. So if you give them 3 or 4 foods that they like and give them that meal plan, they've never dieted before, they get a chance to experiment weighing, maybe 3 or 4 different types of meats, a couple different grains or whole foods for, carbs. And I think that structure can be really good. And once they get the hang of that, they can then move on to something more flexible. So the nice thing about a meal plan is it's really hard to mess up. One example where someone might mess that up, you give them a half cup of cottage cheese and it's 2%, they accidentally buy, 4% or something different or low fat. But it is really hard to mess up. It's not something that you're going to sustain for life, and it doesn't really offer a lot of wiggle room. But I think it's a great foundational step for somebody getting ready to learn flexible dieting that's just maybe never measured food or done anything. Oftentimes when clients start with me, I give them macros, but here's a sample plan that can help you develop some structure to start. And then we can work into some, more flexibility from there.
Yeah, I think, guys, that the best way to think about this is rigid dieting might mean a coach says, here is your meal plan. You cannot deviate. That's bad, and there are all kinds of reasons we discussed. But having some structure, having a meal plan, but you ultimately being in control where you can change it day to day or even week to week, that's where you really get some value. So as I mentioned, you may just be a little hungrier or you're in a different social situation, and that's when you have to kind of just rely on falling back to the math and doing the best you can. But where there are less moving parts, when you are actually used to a certain meal plan and certain foods, there's less room for error. So a lot of processed foods, I had a client who was using a processed protein product. And all of a sudden, she just wasn't losing. I kept saying, that's the problem right there. We need to get rid of that. I promise you. Sure enough, she dropped that one protein product, and over the next 3 weeks, she dropped something like 8 or 9 pounds, and she had not moved in 6 weeks. And I don't know how far they were off on their calculations. It could have been 2 or 3 times the fat or the carbs. But regardless, that was something we had to change and get more basic into some better structure, and you reduce the chance for error.
Was that one of those foods that just sounds too good to be true?
Well, it was, it's a protein-based processed product within our industry. I'm not going to call anybody out, but right. They have been in trouble before. I will say that. Other coaches have called them out, and they had supposedly resolved it. But guys, let's wrap that up right there as far as the difference between flexible dieting and having meal planning. It's not either or. You should be using both. You should use the full benefits of both. And now we're going to start moving into some different ways of using carbs, no carbs, keto, modified keto. So stay tuned, and we will catch you in the next episode.